everyone, this is Steve Rozenberg with Mynd Property Management. I'm joined today with Scott Mazzuca, who is the Portland Portfolio Manager for the Portland area. Scott, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me, Steve.
So Scott, as investors, a lot of people always want to know, do I do it myself? Do I need a property manager? And what's the nuances of having a property manager? We know there's a lot of pitfalls out there in general, and we'll talk, more in depth in other videos about the Portland metro area. But what would you say in general, why does it make sense to have a property manager in the Portland metro area?
Those are good questions. And I think it's never been more important to even ask that question in the Portland metro area. In a lot of states, there are new laws coming out, rent control laws, and they're changing the rule books. And so some of historically where people were it was maybe a little bit more doable to self-manage, time has always been a problem. Having the right amount of time with your other life and your other full-time job, that's always been a challenge, and that still remains the same. But what has changed recently is the political landscape and heavier restrictions and requirements on landlords, and most importantly, bigger penalties should the landlord make a mistake in either paperwork or miss a step in one of the new laws imposed. So what I tell people who desire to self-manage is they have to have a plan that is going to allow them to make sure that they can stay up to date with all the political changes that are happening in the landscape. And if they don't have that time, they really need to get a professional property management firm, just like they would get a professional CPA firm and other professional services.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you hit on something that I think people need to really think about, is that just because a law came out, it doesn't mean that it stays static as that law. It evolves and it changes, and they don't necessarily let you know when that law has changed, and you don't know it until maybe you get in legal trouble and you find out that was the law. However, it's been revised and revamped, because that happens. And I agree that's the thing. And the other thing you said that I think is so smart is that nobody gets into real estate to have a second or third job. And when you do it yourself, you realize the one precious thing that you have that gets slipped away from you is time. And if you want to scale real estate, you're going to give up either time or money. And, you have to ask yourself, what is more important? Do I want to spend all my days and time doing that? And am I willing to commit to educating myself on the law and understanding what the laws are, the ever-changing laws? That's like being your own CPA. If you have just your W-2, may not be that difficult. If you have multiple businesses, now you've got other challenges going on. What do you see as the biggest reason when people fail without getting when they do it themselves and they're their own landlord? Just a tip of where do you see people failing the most often, that they come to you after they've done something wrong?
Very good question. There's definitely a pattern here. What we find, and this goes back to the lack of time, is they are unable to really stay afloat of the actual market value of rents. And so a common mistake that self-managed landlords make is they get a tenant in place and they don't raise the rents. They don't do annual inspections, and they don't do a good job with preventative maintenance or maintenance at all. 3 years goes by, maybe 5 years go by. They left a lot of money on the table. They find out they've been renting it for $200 or $300 under market. Well, geez, over 2 or 3 years, right? That's thousands of dollars.
Sure.
Then the tenants move out, and then there's a whole bunch of stacked up repairs, but they didn't generate enough money to offset those costs. So what they perceive to be saving money by not maybe paying a property manager, they're going to lose, or they're going to, unless they have the time to manage it, they're really going to potentially leave a lot of money on the table. and just really, to be honest, not do as good of a job managing their asset as we do.
Yeah, and I think to sum this up, what resonates with me and what I hear is that when you own a rental property, you own a business, and there's pieces of that business that are integral parts of making that business work. It's kind of like a pilot needing an airplane. It's an integral part to make this whole thing work. When you own a property, having a property management company that operates the business is an integral part. And that's what you have to do, is you have to realize that you have to understand what the rents are, what the laws are, what is best for the business. You may say, I don't have time to go to that property this weekend. But again, it's a business that lives and breathes without you, and you could be the limiting factor. So that's good to know. Scott, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and talk more about property management, how would they do that?
The best way to do that would be to go to mind.co and just search for the Oregon website. I'm the portfolio manager, and my contact information will be available there. Great.
And that's mynd.co. And for those of you that want to join our exclusive Facebook group, it's called the Mastermind Real Estate Investment Club. It's Mastermind, MYND, Real Estate Investment Club. And there you have a lot of serious investors, new investors, talking, collaborating, what's going on, new issues like rent control, and a lot of conversations happening. And you can join in there and you can comment, or discuss. Also, we do have a podcast show. It's the Mindful Investor Podcast Show. And that is a new episode, comes out on iTunes every week. So if you subscribe to that, you'll hear people from Bigger Pockets, other industry influencers. And what you'll find is a lot of people on there are talking not only about their successes and how they became successful, but more importantly, when they failed and the challenges that they had and how they overcome those challenges. Because we all know in real estate that it can be very challenging. And so we ask the tougher questions as to how did you fail and what did you do to get around it? And how could other listeners benefit from that? So on behalf of Scott and myself, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep the conversation going, join our Facebook group.